Hey guys, thanks for dropping by. I'm here with my buddy Dave Malekpour at my Fab Factory studio. As you can see, it's a little messier than when you normally see it because Dave has come in and tuned the Augspurgers, which I got from him, and by the way, that's spectacular so far. Wanted to share my reaction with you a little bit, and we're going to get some information from the man himself. As you can tell, there's stuff all over the place. Dave, you mind sitting that aside? Yeah. So, man, I just listened to it, and I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to see my initial reactions to it because I've had these for about a year, the 15s, and with 18 subs, and everyone that's come in the room has wanted to buy them. They're really spectacular. They do a lot of things really well. Now, one of the things that happens, and we'll talk to Dave about this, is over time, some of the components change and alter. It's possible for them to alter to the better. In this case, I didn't feel that, so Dave dropped by to hip them up again, and this is a very common thing with all drivers, Dave said. So I thought they were great before, but how did you get the front to rear depth, the image? It feels like I'm sitting in front of the most incredible big headphones ever.
That's awesome.
Was it a combination of moving the speakers, or how do you accomplish that, and how can it help my guys at home?
Well, so the first thing I think I noticed was that we had a very slight difference between the left and the right angle and positioning, and I think it was causing a little pull to one side.
Am I correct in saying you moved a speaker less than an inch and it made all that difference?
It was about a half an inch.
Half an inch can make that much difference. You guys hearing this stuff?
And you know, and it really applies to every speaker. You know, it's a transducer. So the same thing, you know, like when you're miking up a kick drum or a snare drum and you move the mic just a small hair and you suddenly get, oh, well, there's all the bass, or now it's too bright, or and so with speakers, you really want to actually be listening to them as you position them. In this case, I use Smart with an Earthworks mic.
That's the software you use.
Yeah, Smart is a measurement tool that can look at phase, frequency response, and also the coherency of the measurement itself.
That was the little microphone we saw. Okay, you monitor through that, and you use pink noise. Is that what you use?
Right, pink noise, and what that's doing is loading the room's response. So, because really, when you listen to a speaker, you're listening to the speaker plus the room it's in.
You just made me think of something. Instead of moving the speakers, I could have just moved my head, but because of the effect and interaction of the speaker with the room, you can't do that. You have to move the speaker itself.
Well, the ultimate thing is symmetricality. We want to try to be as symmetrical as we can possibly be. So if one's
physically having the speaker symmetrical in the room, not moving my head to make my head symmetrical to the speakers.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, and look, you know, obviously we're always moving around when you're sitting there, right?
Yeah.
But when you sit down and you're right in the middle of that, you know, left-right mix, and suddenly, you know, when you hear the vocal right up the middle, you know, it's different than if it's just slightly out of symmetricality. Suddenly, you might find certain things are pulling to one side or the other, and you know, if you are doing it, you want to do it intentionally. Right. And
let me ask you this. The tweeters in my system, I can't say this word, beryllium.
That's right.
And I've heard beryllium tweeters before, but these are different. You told me that as they got heavy usage over time, not a long period of time, they settle in, and then that initial settling in, that probably won't happen again. But with these, you said they kept the exact response and curve, but just came down a dB or so. Right. Is that normal, or is that is that why one of the reasons these guys sound so good is that tweeter is just special?
Well, beryllium's a unique metal. I mean, it's #2 on the periodical chart, so you can understand how pure of a product it is. It's the strongest and most light metal.
It'll also kill you if you touch it.
Well, or if you ate it, or you know.
Okay, yeah. I always eat my tweeters.
Or powder it up, or you know.
I do that too.
But it shouldn't. You know, in normal use, it shouldn't actually have any effect on you toxically. But
never.
You know, you mentioned 2 or 3 things, and you know, the first one was about how the materials change over time, and I think, you know, we're in a precise environment. The studio is a very precise environment, and over time, you can, hear how the diaphragms change. But these are very high performance speakers with an extreme amount of power.
Right.
And so,
Extreme amount of power.
well, they're,
No, I arc weld with mine when you're not here.
you cook with them.
Yeah.
You know, my philosophy on the amplification part of it is to use, you know, our amplifiers have probably 2 to 3 times as much power as they're needed to make sound.
And you make your own, by the way.
That's right. We
He
make
makes
the
his own.
amplifiers in Massachusetts.
I've been there. It's a cool factory. Cool
you, Dave.
people. Shout out to all the guys up there and ladies.
There's a lot of care that's gone into them, from, you know, the meticulous craftsmanship on the woodworking side of it to choosing components that are not restricted by, you know, the cost of them. You know, a lot of times when people are manufacturing things, they have to figure out, okay, we want a system that's going to sell for this price, and they work backwards, choosing componentry and parts to get to that price point. And my philosophy was, I don't necessarily need to think about that because we're not, you know, mass producing them. We're going to try to use the very best materials. So these beryllium diaphragms that are made for us by Materion. Materion is a company that owns 98% of the world's beryllium.
Wow.
And somewhere along the way, there was a hi-fi enthusiast in the company, and he realized that the same machines that would make the plates for X-ray plates could also form a diaphragm, and they invested in building machines specifically for forming diaphragms. So what makes these unique is that there is no mylar suspension. It's a pure beryllium foil that's been formed at, I think, 6,000 degrees or something.
Wow.
It's pretty remarkable. And
That's
don't quote me on the temperature, but it's, you know, it's an extreme, very meticulous process. And then it's also got an alloy tone ring that the diaphragm is mounted inside of. And beryllium has a unique feature, which is that it dissipates energy faster than any other metal. So, you know, one of the great demonstrations that of beryllium is having tuning forks that are made of titanium and aluminum and beryllium, and when you hit that tuning fork, it dissipates almost instantaneously. So what that does is
going boom, it'll go boom.
Boom, exactly. So that shortened.
That was an 8440. 7.
The shortened resonance means that you're not getting anomalies inside the frequency response that you're trying to listen to.